Rachel from Pink Tie Affair, and today I'm going to show you a couple of pieces that I bought online from the company Everlane. Everlane is a company that I think is pretty well known among the slow fashion, sustainable fashion communities. I think that a lot of other YouTubers have talked about them in the past, and in fact that's how I heard about them in the first place. They're a brand that focuses on ethical business practices, transparent and fair pricing, and also sustainability in terms of the environment. Now, if you've been on my channel in the past, you'll know that basics and I aren't exactly friends. For me, the idea of basics is kind of like filling in the gaps between your statement pieces and diluting your overall outfit so that, God forbid your outfit turn out too exciting and risk standing out in a crowd or something. And personally, I don't see the things that I bought today as basics. I bought them because I liked them for what they were and thought that they would complement and add to my existing wardrobe instead of just being something that doesn't conflict. However, I marked the video as being about basics because I feel like a lot of people would classify these things as basics. They're all plain tees and sweaters, which I guess are usually basics. They're not in neutral colors though. Besides the white one, I don't think most people count pink as a neutral, right? So yeah, anyway, that's where I'm at. Take this as a review of these couple of items, whether or not they count as basics for you. Now, I am very picky with my clothing, and especially so with basics. I am basically impossible to please. So today, we're going to go into a lot of detail. We're going to go into the 5 F's, which is the thing I made up around half an hour ago when I realized that all the points I wanted to talk about could be described using words starting with the letter F. The 5 F's are fit, fabric, feel, financials, and features, which I will explain in more detail once we have the items on. So let's get started right away and try on the first item. Let's start first with the basics of all basics, this white t-shirt. This is the organic cotton box cut tee in the color, obviously, white, and I got it in a size extra small. It's made of 100% organic cotton, and it's advertised as having a relaxed fit. Now, I don't want to oversell this thing, so I'm just going to start out with saying that this is the best white t-shirt I've ever put on my body in my life. Let's start with the fit. I am either 5'1" or 2, never really confirmed that, but petite in other words. And this shirt hits me at around the top of my hips. A problem that as a petite I find with a lot of t-shirts is that they make them a couple of inches longer than this, which elongates my torso so much to the point of looking a little bit disproportionate, and if I'm wearing shorter shorts, makes me look like I'm maybe not wearing pants. This shirt, however, ends approximately where my torso does, so that's appropriate. I chose this tee also because it was advertised as a kind of boxy, relaxed fit. Another problem that I find with a lot of t-shirts is that they are slim fitted through the body but cut straight up and down, so that at the waist it fits you nicely, but once it gets to your hips it's a little bit too tight, and so you get this sort of band around the area of your jeans fly, and it just looks tight, and you can kind of see the lumps and bumps of your jeans. This t-shirt, however, does not do that, and I find that to be a much more polished look. In terms of the fabric, like I said, it's 100% organic cotton, and it is very opaque. I'm wearing a bra that's slightly lighter than my natural skin color, and when I look closely in the mirror, I can see the top outline a little, but for me, that's okay. The fabric is almost a solid white. If you hold it up to the light, you can see a little bit of texture, like a slub or marled fabric, but from afar, it looks like a solid block of white. As for the feel, I would not say that this is the softest tee I've ever had, but I don't think it was supposed to be. I think that the fabric was formulated to be very sturdy, and because it's cotton, it is supposed to soften after a couple of washes and wears, so now it's brand new and it's not super soft, but I'm sure it'll get better with time. And on the whole, right now, it doesn't feel scratchy or anything. It feels comfortable against the skin. So it's definitely not like wearing pajamas, but I don't think it was supposed to be. In terms of features, it really doesn't have a whole lot. It's a very plain white tee. The one thing that I did notice and really like about it, besides the fit of the waist, is the sleeves. So the sleeves are, I would say, a nice length. I really don't like short sleeves, especially cap sleeves, where there's basically like no fabric underneath your arms, and I feel like this is a nice sort of length to cover up just a little bit of your arm without being boxy or anything. But anyway, moving on to financials, which is the pricing. This tee retails for $18. Everlane rarely does sales, but they try to price their items very reasonably in the first place. And I think that $18 for a very high quality tee is fair game. They do have a choose what you pay program, whereby if they're trying to get rid of excess merchandise, for example, they will let you choose what you're going to pay for the item, with the lowest price being what covers the cost price of making the thing, and additional amounts included if you're interested in helping out their development of new products or their daily operations. So if you really like the brand and you want to support them, then choosing one of those higher amounts is one way to do that. Or I guess you could just buy it full price. The second thing I want to talk about is this pink tee. I'm not going to go too much into it because it's basically the same thing as the white tee except in pink. So again, the organic cotton box cut tee made with 100% organic cotton and costing $18. One thing I did want to go into a little bit more detail about is the boxy part of the tee. I kind of understand why it was marketed that way. It's certainly not doing this to my middle, where you can most definitely see like every lump and bump in my entire figure, but it's also not doing the thing where, you know how when you have some boxy tees and you hold your arm out like this, the fabric of the actual shirt body starts like here. And then a lot of the times in those kinds of shirts, for some reason, they make the sleeves super duper tight, and I don't know why they do that. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that while this tee is definitely not super form-fitting, it's also not super baggy or slouchy. So if you were looking for more of that oversized look, firstly, I would not go for this particular tee. I think they have other tees that are made to be a bit more slouchy. But if you wanted this specific tee, but also in a slouchy look, definitely size up. But anyway, this is in the color pale pink, and this is, I think, actually the primary reason why I made this order, because I was looking for a nice pink t-shirt, and I think this fits the bill very nicely just because of how well this entire line fits. They do come in a couple of other colors. I forget exactly which one. I'm sure there's like a navy and a gray or something, and I think maybe a yellow. So if you don't like either white or pink, go check out the other colors, and there may be something that's good for you. Let's move on to a very similar but also very different t-shirt. This is Everlane's the ReCotton Tee. I got it in a size small and in the color lilac. My impression was that lilac is supposed to be sort of a light purple, but personally I would say that this t-shirt is somewhere between a very warm-toned light purple or a slightly cool-toned pink. To me on the website it looked pink, which is why I got it. It's advertised as a shrunken fit. I would say that in terms of fit, it actually is very similar to the tee that I just showed you, the organic box cut tee. It hits in a very similar place at the top of my hips and is neither squeezing me in the middle or coming too far out in the sides. My impression is that it's maybe like an inch or half an inch longer at the hem, but that might just be my imagination. The sleeves are also a nice length for me. And on the whole, I would say that it looks like it was made to fit my proportions. The focus of the fabric of this t-shirt is that it's made out of 60% recycled cotton, which is why it's called the ReCotton Tee. I would say that this is a little bit softer than the other tee. It feels like a bit of a fluffier weave, and if you look closely at the fabric, it also has a little bit of that marled slub sort of effect, a little bit more so than the other tee, which is why I think this is a little bit softer. I still wouldn't buy this one because it's so incredibly soft, but it does feel nice and opaque enough to hide a nude bra, which is good enough for me. One thing that stands out about this tee that the other one doesn't have is this little detail along the sleeves and the hem. There's a little bit of this stitching detail which I think gives it a little bit more of a rougher casual look as opposed to a refined one, which is I think a thing that I can say about the shirt in general because of how the fabric is a little bit softer, a little bit more textured, and more on the marled side. So definitely I think that this tee was designed more as like a comfy tee rather than a very smart one, which is great because you have a little bit of option there depending on your lifestyle. This also comes in a variety of different colors, which you can go see on their website. And like the other tee, it also retails for $18, which again I think is fair. For real this time, something a little bit different. This is the Soft Cotton Crew, which I got in a size small in the color pale pink. It's advertised as having a relaxed fit. Now, either Everlane and I don't really see eye to eye on what the word relaxed means, or this runs small. Because even though the sweater is definitely not very fitted, like there is quite a bit of room in my middle here, it does hug my hips. So this is definitely not like your slouchy, oversized sweater. One of the concerns I had when getting this sweater was that it was going to be a little bit too long, because as a petite, I do find that a lot of sweaters, just like a lot of t-shirts, are cut just a few inches longer than my actual torso, which makes my proportion look a little bit out of whack. However, I think this actually hits at a nice point. It does hit, I would say, more in the middle of the waist as opposed to the t-shirts which hit at the top. But this is still acceptable, and because there's this band here, it hugs my waist and doesn't flop around a whole lot. And also, if I wanted, I could probably hitch it up like just a little like this and fold it over and whatnot, do things like that. So I turn out to be pretty alright with this length. I think that if you're looking for a sweater that does fit you nicely, but isn't very tight, especially around your middle, this is a very good option. The sleeves are also very fitted. There's not a whole lot of room here. I would say this is probably a very good middle of the road, not too loose, not too tight sleeve. For the fabric, this is 100% cotton, and it definitely does feel soft, in the sense that it's malleable and not like crunchy, and molds very easily to the body. I would not, however, describe this as cozy. The yarn used in the fabric is not very fluffy at all, and so when you feel the fabric, it's very smooth and there's not a whole lot of fuzz. The knit is also quite tight, which is good because when you look at the sweater, you're not going to see like your bra and skin through any holes. And let me say again, it is definitely very soft, very comfortable, but definitely also not that sort of like loose knit loungewear kind of fabric. Features of note. Firstly, the cuffs here. There is this ribbed band around both of the cuffs, which are very wide for sleeves, because usually in the sleeves you see like a thinner band here. And I really like that as a design detail because the sleeve is just like the slightest bit too long for me as a petite, but that's fine because with the ribbing it holds it up, and in fact when I sort of pull the sleeve to its full length and fold it over the cuff, there's this like little bit of a puff effect, which is interesting. The same ribbing is also present in the waistband, of course. Another thing of note are these three little ribs, I guess you can say, at the shoulder, which kind of accentuate this seam and just in general I feel like make the sweater a little bit more casual, which is kind of weird because the rest of the sweater from the fabric to the other design details are a bit more smart, so I don't know why they decided to add this. And finally, the sweater was priced at $50. That is definitely not cheap and not something that I would buy on a whim, but that's also not a bad price. Like that's around what, say, an American Eagle or Abercrombie & Fitch sweater would cost full price, maybe a little bit less than Abercrombie & Fitch, so I would say that's a fair price. The final thing we're going to talk about today is this sweater. This is the Soft Cotton Square Crew, which I got in the size extra small and the color pale pink. It's advertised as being oversized. Now, I am a huge fan of this fit. I really like the oversized slouchiness of this sweater, and I'm really loving the way it drapes on my body. I'm also really liking how it hits me in the front at least, also at the sort of top of my hips here, but in the back it goes a lot longer. Not enough, I would say, to cover your entire butt if you're one of those people who wants to wear leggings but doesn't want to like show their butt if they're wearing the leggings. Like, this is not going to cover you, but if you're okay with that, then sure, wear this with leggings. The sleeves are also a little bit longer than the other sweater, and because the ribbing is not as close to the arm as the other one, it does not have that effect of you being able to like pull it up and expose your hand. So when you just hold your hand down, it does drape over your hand a little bit. And see, this is what I was talking about with those other pieces and the sleeves. You see, this is a true oversized fit. The body of the shirt starts like way out from where my body is. Although thankfully this time the sleeves are not cut too tight. However, I am a little bit confused as to why this sweater, with this fit, which looks a lot more loungy and very casual, is made out of this particular fabric. This is very similar fabric to the sweater that I just showed you. In fact, I think it's like probably the exact same kind of fabric formulation, except this time the weave is even thicker. So if you look at the thing, every single stitch is very clear. It's definitely a lot heavier than the other sweater. And so yeah, personally, with this kind of fit, like, I would have thought that this would be for lounging around or very casual outfits, but for some reason, the material that they chose to make it in is also not super soft. Like, I would say that this is even less soft than the other sweater. And it's definitely not uncomfortable, it's definitely not scratchy or itchy anywhere, but it's also not very cozy. Like, this is not the sort of thing that I would pick up if I were going to spend an afternoon on my couch, even though it is the kind of shape that I would choose. But like all the other pieces, this is also made out of 100% cotton, so maybe it softens with wear. Notable features: firstly, it is, like I mentioned, a sort of high-low situation here where you have a higher hem in the front and a lower hem in the back. And in the hem and the sleeves, you have this nice wide ribbing, which is a design detail I'm really enjoying in this more casual cut of sweater. There is also a little bit of extra, I think, stitching detail around the neckline here, which I'm personally neither really a fan of or really dislike, but that's there. And this sweater cost $74 retail, which is significantly more than the other sweater I showed you. I can only assume that's because this uses more fabric and more materials in terms of how heavy it is and also how thick it is compared to that other sweater. I think that this is the only item for which I can say, for the price, I would have hoped for a little bit more. Again, really a huge fan of the way it fits. I just wish it came in a bit of a softer, cozier, fuzzier fabric, because as is, like, I'm really torn between wearing this to lounge around and wearing this as part of a smart outfit, so yeah. Having said those things are my preference, I think that for the quality and the materials used, that's probably not an unreasonable price. Okay, and that's everything I have to show you today. A few thoughts on Everlane, the brand in general, in case you're thinking about trying out some of these items or anything else from their website. Firstly, something I love about them, and the reason I decided to try them in their first place, is their business mission. I like how they try to make sure that the people working in their factories are treated well, and how they're very transparent about why they price things the way they do, and also that the prices are very reasonable and things that I can afford without waiting for things to go on sale, which they rarely ever do, so that's a good thing. I also like how they have a focus on sustainability, using reused materials such as cotton and I think cashmere, and probably also wool, I forget, but definitely fabrics that have been used elsewhere to make new clothes. Because while I'm not like a hardcore sustainable fashion person, I would rather not end the world in my search for the perfect wardrobe. And overall, I have been very impressed by the fit of everything I've tried on from Everlane. I think that things have been the right widths and tightness and looseness in all the different parts of my body, and have generally been like very proportional. You know, like if something is loose in the body, it tends also to be a little bit more loose in the sleeves, and you don't have that situation where something is very tight in one place but very loose in the other place, so now you don't even know if you can fix it by sizing up or down, which is a thing that I find happens to a lot of different clothes out there. And I have no idea why that is. Like, do people just use models that have unusually thick arms but very thin bodies? I have no idea. But for me, Everlane has sized and fitted very well. However, one thing that I haven't been super in love with is unfortunately the fabric. This is really, really odd because they use a lot of fabrics that I like cotton and cashmere, and often make the entire garment in just those natural fabrics. But I find that most of their things, at least everything that I've tried on, have never been like exceptionally soft. In fact, I think there was one sweater I tried on, like the alpaca sweater or something like that, which I found just the slightest bit scratchy. I mean, everything else has felt fine, just not like, oh my god, this is so soft, I want this sort of soft. Which is a shame because softness is something I do really look for in my clothes, so I think that factor stops me from being really, really impressed by the thing as a whole. So yeah, on the whole, I would say try it out if you want to, and if you're in a financial position to do so. I would say that I recommend their woven fabrics, such as their t-shirts, more than their knits like their sweaters. Especially if you're like me and you like things to be very fuzzy and very cozy. But yeah, there you go. Consider subscribing if you're interested in fashion-focused content, centered around helping you get the most enjoyment and wear out of any clothes you already have and anything you choose to buy. I'm aiming to get monetized on YouTube, which means 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours within 1 year. When I hit this goal, I'm going to do one of two things with the proceeds from the first month. If there is still significant financial need due to the effects of COVID-19, I'm going to donate 100% of the proceeds to Feeding America to help those whose livelihoods have been impacted by the situation. However, if things have calmed down by then, 100% of those proceeds will go to the Rainforest Coalition. The Rainforest Coalition is an international organization that slows the process of global warming by helping countries that have rainforests prevent deforestation. So if you want to watch fashion content and potentially donate to charity at the same time, click that button. But otherwise, I hope you found this information helpful and enjoyable. Thank you for hanging out with me, and I will see you next time. Bye!